Well, I was fortunately, you have to fight for freedom. I had to fight to overcome my own inability and gain ability to express myself, so I would have a voice. So I could be free in that sense. Give myself, for me, it was giving myself a life. It was free from. I was seeking free from despair.
Welcome to episode 114 of the Bass Shed podcast. My name is Ryan Roberts. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bass Shed podcast. I had taken a little break from doing the podcast. Gigs were pretty busy. Had some stuff going on in my personal life. But now we're back. Actually, this weekend, on the gig topic, this past weekend was a couple kind of, surreal gigs. What was it? Last Wednesday, Trey Cool, the drummer of Green Day, was at the gig and sat in on some tunes. So I got to play with him. That was pretty surreal. Trey it was a great hang. He he was very complimentary of my playing. That was a lot of fun. A few days later, I had a great opportunity to play for the President of the United States. I got to meet him. I can't say me and Biden hung, but it was a cool experience. Obviously, the band I was playing with, we got our picture taken with them. The headliner at the event was Lenny Kravitz, and Trombone Shorty was playing with Kravitz. So while we were doing the jazz thing up front, Trombone Shorty's sitting right there, just checking it out. That was pretty cool. Jerry Jemmott is on the episode. I originally met Jerry through session legend David Hood from the Swampers down in Muscle Shoals. After I did the podcast interview with David Hood, he asked me if I wanted Jemott's number, and I'm like, yes, absolutely. When I got done with the talk with David Hood, I text Jerry Jemmott. That was a pretty surreal moment. Kind of, Jerry and I would text back and forth, always trying to figure out a time to do the podcast interview. I hadn't heard from him in quite some months, and then he texted me a link to his new autobiography titled Make It Happen, The Life and Times of the Groove Master, bassist Jerry Jemmott. And I'm like, man, yeah, come on the podcast. Let's talk about it. Great to hear from you. Let's definitely talk about the book. So we did that. I think that was probably early September, maybe even earlier. I can't remember. But I hadn't read the book yet, And so I remember in that first interview, Jerry just kept saying, man, you got to read the book. I'm like, all right, dude. All right. Let me read the book. Through getting to know Jerry and, I'd like to say, I think I can safely say I'm friends with Jerry Jemmott now, and that's still surreal to me. We did a masterclass at Lemur Music in late September, where Jerry did the masterclass and book signing event. You can all check that out online at the BassShedAcademy.org. I have it up in its entirety there. It's 3 different videos, but it is an unedited experience of what happened at Lemur Music. So you can go check that out. Jerry and I are also doing another masterclass December 16th at the Bass Exchange Amp Shop in North Hollywood, California. So if you are in the Los Angeles area and you would like to attend a Jerry Jemmott masterclass, we will be at the Amp Shop Bass Exchange in NoHo, December 16th, starting at 1 p.m. and ending at 3. It's a 2-hour event. You can get tickets to it at thebassshedacademy.org. Jerry Jemmott, legend. Aretha Franklin, B.B. King, Nina Simone, The Rascals, Duane Allman. Man, the list goes on and on. I first got hip to him, as a bass player and as a historical presence because of his when he interviewed Jocko. That's how I got hip to him, and then I started researching him a little bit, and then when the Fly Trio record came out in 2004, Larry Grenadier wrote a tune titled JJ about Jerry Jemmott. It kind of made me give Jerry another look and started really checking him out even more. And man, his bass lines are so fantastic. He's such a cultural icon, right? All the music he was a part of had this message of freedom, and it was about liberation, and he was a part of that music. And it's, not only a bass legend, but I honestly regard him as a cultural icon. Jerry and I talk about that. We talk about the activism element of the music he was a part of. We talk about his autobiography. You can find that on Amazon. If you're attending the book signing event, you can also, pick up a copy there, and Jerry will personally autograph a copy for you. Wonderful, wonderful talk. Jerry and I have had some hangs. We went out to a jazz festival in Watts. Had just a beautiful time hanging out. I remember we ran into bassist Reggie Hamilton down there. It's been an honor to get to know Jerry and absorb his humanity, and how that relates to his playing, and how he locks in with tunes, and what he's trying to convey through tunes, and where he goes to create bass lines. It all comes from this place of liberation and freedom. It's nothing short of inspiring. Again, the masterclass is December 16th at the Bass Exchange Amp Shop in North Hollywood from 1 to 3. Stop by the BassShedAcademy.org for tickets to that event, and also check out the event that was held at Lemur Music in late September. Here's my talk now with the legendary Jerry Jemmott. Jerry, how you doing, man? How you doing?
I'm doing great today, Ryan. Everything is moving along.
That's cool. What are you up to? Like what did you do today? I know a lot of stuff that you have going on, which we'll talk about. But what's your day? What'd you do?
Besides my morning, ritual of prayer in the morning, cooked breakfast for my wife, and
nice.
Got prepared to have this great talk with you today. Basically, this was cooling up, smoothing off some rough edges of my presentation.
Yeah. Man, let's talk about the book, because you and I kind of reconnected when you texted me a link to the book. So let's talk about the book.
All right.
How long did it take you to compile it into a book form? It's your autobiography, and you're talking about all things from your childhood into your session playing in New York and all that. But how long did it take you to put all that together?
Once I committed myself to doing it, it was it took 2 years altogether.
Okay.
To from start to finish, and then there was the process of getting it, finding a publisher for it.
Right.
And we went to I picked up a ghostwriter, an editor in the process, and that helped facilitate the whole thing and made it move a lot smoother to come to a conclusion, because it was never ending.
Right. Yeah.
But it's kind of hard to stop and finish it. So I was able to organize it. And once that occurred, it took basically 5 years to come to the conclusion that we're gonna have to do this ourselves, because nobody wants to print the story.
Oh, really? You had it finished. You had it finished for 5 years before it was released?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And I did basically modified it to maybe 2 different publishers we were pursuing. Mm-hmm. It might be because when you write a book, sometimes the publisher will want to have it geared towards their way of thinking, their style of publication. A whole lot of things go into a creative project when you have a publisher oversee your work, basically, and kind of script and guide what's going to happen and what audience is going to be for, basically, try to custom to their specifications. So we went with the academic route. We tried that route. We tried the biographical route, and nothing seemed to fly. So we decided to do it ourselves.
Good.
And I'm glad we did. And we were encouraged along the way by everybody I knew that said, Jerry, let's do it yourself. Don't worry about getting the publisher. People want to hear your story. You're not a household name, but you still have a great story. So,
Hmm.
and I've been very influential in terms of music, um, both as a musician, as an activist. So it's time to tell it and get it out there, and hopefully we'll bring other people into the fold and
Yeah.
make them aware of what's going on.
Yeah. Something about what you just said I want to talk about, but I think one time when we were just hanging, you told me this story about the photo that's on the cover of the book, and I want to make sure that this story comes out because I thought the story was hilarious. I'll let you tell it, but to set it up, I think if I remember correctly, you were on an Aretha session when that picture was taken.
That's right.
And although you have, it's going to be, I hope, kind of an iconic photo of you because it's on the cover of the book. You have a cigarette in your mouth. You, in fact, were not smoking at the time.
I just recently quit about a year ago, but prior to that.
Before the picture, yeah.
And before the picture, and because you're hanging out with your friends, and we hadn't seen each other in a while. I hadn't seen King Curtis in a while, and I had been working with Aretha. We were recording with her, and they was hanging. We were socializing, and they started smoking cigarettes, and so I decided to join them.
Yeah.
And after I joined them, I stepped down with my bass and snap, picked the So I was busted.
Yeah, yeah,
And when the
boom.
rest came out, I didn't smoke after that. And about a few months later, after the record came out, I was like, I said, oh man, gosh.
Yeah, the one time,
That's when I
right?
stopped. Yeah, one time, yeah, I got busted. So I was already, I didn't smoke anymore that day. That was that one cigarette I had in the whole year, you know. But after that, I stayed clean for 19 years. What can I tell you?
Yeah, good on you, man. Good on you.
It's a hard habit to break, once you
That's for sure.
start.
That's for
I
sure.
feel for people who who have it and can't shake it. It's hard.
That
It's
it is.
hard.
That it is. Um, what I want to talk to you about, second that you just mentioned was your work as an activist. Now, so much of that music you were a part of during that time was the music to a movement. I mean, it's always funny. Like, how did you? Where did that? Let me figure out a good way to ask this question. You knew what you were doing, so I don't want to ask the question. Did you know what you were doing while you were doing it? I feel like you knew more than anybody what that movement was about, and what that music represented for the community. Um,
Yes.
how much was the activism portion of it discussed while doing some of these sessions? Was that discussed a lot? Was that just kind of understood?
It was more or less really, really understood by
Mm-hmm.
just the nature of for myself being a creative musician, coming from a jazz perspective. You want to bring the music to life.
Right.
So no matter what the music was or what the title of the song was, I'd have to paint the picture in my own head
Mm-hmm.
to symbolize it musically. And so it was pretty obvious what was going on. And if you're hearing it, besides the title, once you hear the lyrics, it tells
Right.
the story, you can't help but understand what it's about. And then you become engaged in a way that no other way could you become engaged as opposed to somebody writing out something for you to play.
Right.
That idea of it, that's a good start. There was a chord structure. There were sometimes notes, sometimes figures. In the case of something like Attica Blues,
Mm-hmm.
there was a massive chart written, great ensemble of musicians, and we all fell into knowing what just transpired. The title told us what to do, basically.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
emotions you're gonna hear the lyrics. So basically, if you're hearing words all the time, you know what to do. It's almost there's nothing to be discussed because the message is in the music.
Mm-hmm.
It's right there. There's nothing. We're gonna do this.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the case. And when Aretha did think, I heard her cry for help and what she was going to cry for freedom and being abused historically. And you hear it just coming out in the lyrics, and you want to get with that feeling and support that feeling to bring that music to life.
Yeah.
So it was pretty. For me, it's very easy for me to work that way, with that in mind. It was good to have help with something written out.
Yeah.
Basically to give you a guide. Basically.
Sure. You're right. Um, and I know I've heard you speak just one-on-one, and then even when we did the masterclass at Lemur, freedom has always been a reoccurring theme in the music you were involved with, and that was always a big, that word, that idea, that characteristic was always a huge influence and inspiration for how you would approach so many of these bass lines.
Isn't that something?
That's
Really
fantastic.
is. But it's what everybody, from every ant, from every microbe,
Mm-hmm.
from every living species. This is something that we all strive for and need. Plants need room to grow.
Sure.
People need room to rise and to thrive, and people need room to exist.
Yeah.
Freedom is a universally known quest that we all have to strive for, and we all at some point are it's taken away from us.
Mm-hmm.
When we're babies, we don't have the freedom to do what we want to do because we'd be harmful to ourselves. So our freedom is denied. So we're constantly seeking to push through from the very beginning to become free from something.
Mm-hmm.
Free from the sufferings of pain of living, freedom from suffering. You never have freedom from death.
No.
But then again, there's no such thing as death because life is eternal. So you're here.
I mean, I think that there's, on the topic of freedom, there's different layers. There's social, maybe economic, things like this. There's within every facet of life, there's a pursuit to freedom. Do you feel that?
Yes.
Let's start with musically. Do you feel that musically do you feel as if through your career and through your playing and through being a part of this music that you found a sense of musical freedom to have your own identity and be free to do that?
Well, I was fortunately, you have to fight for freedom. I had to fight to overcome my own inability and gain ability to express myself, so I would have a voice. So I could be free in that sense. Give myself, for me, it was giving myself a life. It was I was seeking free from despair, being freedom from paranoia,
right,
freedom from insecurity. All these things I was able to get away from through music.
Sure.
So it's a constant, it's always, it's a great question you asked. It's ongoing.
Yeah.
I have to become free from my own, the things that might be pulling me down. I have to be free from the shackles.
That
that bind me now in my eternal life. There's always something that you have to become free yourself from.
I forgot where we were going. I think it's when we were going to the jazz festival in Watts. I had been reading your book, and I let you know that I loved starting to read the book because I could see myself in your story. And there's nothing more, I think, validating to me than being able to be like, oh, these things that I've thought, that I'm aware of within myself, that someone else has encountered, it validates my story to hear it from someone else.
Yes.
So I thought the book is fantastic because so many of us will probably be able to hear our story in your story and see our story in your story. 2 different degrees, right? I didn't I didn't grow up as a black child in New York, so I don't have that part.
Right.
But there's other things you struggled with and I know we've talked about this too, like you and I are both kind of dyslexic with numbers. That's something. So it's like, I know I am, but I don't really talk about it much. I'm not ashamed of it. It's just something I have to deal with. If I'm memorizing a phone number, I don't memorize the phone number. I have to write it down and, on my hand or something, so because I know I won't remember it properly. It's just
and write it down in the right order.
Yeah, right. No, I have to write it down and then triple check to make sure I'm right. Yeah, numbers are a thing.
That last number will invariably become the first number. I've caught myself so many times. I know this is going to happen. It's predictable.
Man, this made me think of you the other day. I don't know what I was doing. I had one of those 4-digit codes you have to plug in to after they verify your account or something. They text you the code.
Yeah.
And the code was like, I don't know, 6721. I just started
Right.
with a 4. I'm like, I don't even know where the 4 came from. And I spent 20 minutes looking like, where the hell did I come up with this 4? And I'm like, oh, I got to tell Jerry this story. He'll think this is hilarious. The 4 just came out of nowhere.
It looks kind of like a 6, you know, like, you know, you can,
I don't know how.
you know,
I don't even know what happened.
you know, it happens, man. It happens. Man, it's the sound of the word for might
Right.
have been in your head. I mean, and it then translates to a number. I mean, it could have been something you saw. I mean, it's just incredible how the mind cross-referencing. It's a good example of the mind cross-referencing what what's it's exposed to, and whether you put credence on it and attach yourself to it, it becomes a real thought. Now, something that you saw made you think of for,
Right.
and you had to express it.
Yeah, yeah.
And so a lot of things we don't always express everything we see and everything we feel.
Sure.
We hold a lot of things in, and a lot of things we don't even, even doesn't even matter. We see it, doesn't matter, doesn't enter into what we're doing.
Right.
It's not a part of our journey, so to speak.
And now, I've never thought about it in that way, but I definitely know that playing is where I get a lot of that stuff out. You know, like all this stuff that's just in there, that's just kind of rattling around, clutter in the basement, so to speak. Sometimes it comes out when I play. Is that part of your process too, to purge a lot of that?
Well, I don't know if it's purging. It's like it feels so good to be able to manipulate and reconstruct and deconstruct an idea.
Yeah, that's true.
And play it so many different ways and express it so many different ways and do it at the drop of a hat and do it in front of a live audience or if it's going to be recorded. You're making music at such a, I guess I can't, it's life affirming, it's life giving, it's a shared experience that between the person making the music and ultimately somebody's going to hear this, or I can't wait for somebody to hear this. This sounds great. At least it sounds good to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't always translate. The sound is so good with somebody else, but then you have to manipulate it and reconstruct it so that it does fit into whatever's going on.
Yeah.
Or write things around it so that it makes it sound, make it sound good, basically. I mean, that's part of the process. And even that is a challenge. Come up with an idea and then make it sound good, make it right.
Sure.
Just like with my things with colors, like, you have like, okay, you take two colors that look crazy together, but this basically musically, they might sound cool. Well, maybe not. We'll make that right. You might want to stretch it in terms of how far it is from each other. Once you do that, everything sounds good.
I mean, I think then what someone would have to confront is the idea of perspective. Like, what sounds right? If you're going for a perfect harmonious thing where it's let's say a note and then a perfect fifth above that note, okay, well, that's harmonious. If that's what you want, cool. If that's not what you want, do a half step above. If you want that clash and that tension, it's a matter of perspective of what right is.
Exactly. Well, it's really the perspective of the purpose of why you're making the music determines whether it's right or wrong.
Correct.
I mean, that's like, that kind of makes sense. If it fits the occasion. Right. In other words, if it's tasty, it's right. Yeah, if it's tasteful,
all you got to do is dress for the weather. You know what I mean? You just got to dress for the weather. That's all it comes down to.
Exactly.
How
be prepared for whatever's coming.
How did that impact when you think about the idea of freedom? And the idea of freedom has inspired so many of your bass lines, your legendary bass lines. How did the color system kind of come into play there? Or what sounds made or were associated with freedom for you?
Well, actually, when I was making those records, I wasn't thinking about colors.
Okay.
In fact, the colors came out of a result of working with a musician, great singer Laura Nero. And she would tell us, myself and whoever else. I mean, this is the way she would express herself with musicians.
Okay.
She would say, could you put a little blue on this, or put a little pink on this part, or a little green, whatever color she had thought of necessary to get the mood that she was looking for. She would say that, and we would do something in our mind, think that way, mindful of that when we were playing our part, and we adjusted with that in mind. And few times, and she'd say, "Okay, that's enough. That's good. That's good. That's it."
Okay.
And so that was the only time in those during those eras in that era when I was making music where I used colors. Um, and that's what made spark the idea when Herb Lavelle mentioned that, brought that to my attention 20 years later after the fact. The time that we were working with her to change my numeric system into a color sound music system, I said, okay, this is viable because we've experienced that.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I can see. It's so funny. I was playing around this today, thinking about just making a modulation from a one color, one key to another, and using the color as a way of modulating. Okay, what's the fifth of the next key?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the fifth's going to be red. Okay, there it is. We're going to key of F.
Yeah.
Going to green. And so I was able to, throw it in just like that. So there are many uses of it that I haven't really delved into it myself, but I know for people of a younger generation, people just coming into this world, babies, infants, people who have attention deficit disorders, a way of tackling, bringing back memories to them. I think it's a very viable way, another tool in the toolbox to help us become more productive and creative, and to unlock the talent that we might have that we never otherwise might not experience. It's almost like learning another language in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
in the interpretation of hearing music that way.
Yeah, you and I've discussed this. You have an organization kind of set up about this called Solar Energy, and it is about associating pitches to specific colors and kind of we're what man I forgot how we spoke of it last week when we were on the phone, but it was like demystifying or taking all the academics kind of out of the challenge of learning music and just making it more simple, more feeling based, and more visual.
Yes, yes, that was in fact that was a supposition that Herb said. He would say, suppose you could learn music without the tedium of going through the C sharp sound good with B flat, and does F sharp sound good with A flat, basically, and what these things meant. And just look in terms of can you make that simplified and just make it colors and go from there? And it does do that.
Mm-hmm.
It does do that. And if it beyond doing that, it gives people a way to enter into music from a very simple method,
Mm-hmm.
very basic platform. It kind of like levels the playing field in terms of, oh, this blue is G, and this F is this G, this green is F, and this yellow is E. All these things, it's like training the brain to think another way. It's another layer of productivity for your neurons in your brain to work, and they like to work. They like to be given work to do, and the more they exercise, just like the muscles in your body, they get bigger and stronger, and they want more. They want more challenges. So this is another way of actually challenging the brain and helping the brain to challenge it to do even more.
Now, I would like you to speak to this. What gave? So what color is B flat? Let me start here. We're gonna for this question and this conversation, we're gonna use B flat. What color is B flat?
Oh, that's pink.
Pink. Okay. What? How did B flat become pink? Like why
Well,
not B flat as like a light blue or some other kind of maybe infant color that's light? Why pink?
mm-hmm. Why blue?
No, why pink?
White pink?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, white pink. Because first, pink was not one of the colors that was designated by Pythagoras more than 3,000 years ago. He came up with the original system, and he only used the rainbow colors, which were red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet.
Yeah.
Um, so B flat is a color, is a note that we all play, tone that we all play, that's in the 12-tone scale that wasn't accounted for. So I had to basically designate those five, we call them accidental notes, key notes, and give them color sound names. And I chose pink because it's something that we all see in our world, that we all we call, so to speak, come out of pink. Out of the womb, pink. Our insides, our internals are pink.
Mm-hmm.
The other colors of brown is something that we see on the earth. We see it in our skin color. We see it in things of our choice, leather. Um, we see the other color of gold. It's something that's a mineral that we value,
Mm-hmm.
that we revere, and that's prevalent in our choice of things that we do. Then we have silver, which is another valuable element, mineral that we live with. You can look at it as gray. And then we have turquoise, which is the color of kind of like a mixture of green and blue.
Mm-hmm.
So these are things, the colors that we actually live with that were necessary to account for the five accidentals that we use anyway. So I had to basically just go with my gut feeling of what we live with and make it something more holistic that we know that man can vibrate to in our world as opposed to looking up at the heavens. Let's talk about what's going on down here.
Mm-hmm.
So it brings into play that thinking also.
Now, when Pythagoras put together this this color system associated with the rainbow and how it relates to tonal music, you have 7 colors of the rainbow and 7 scale degrees. So did each color get a separate scale degree? You know, if you're in C, then C. I mean, I'm just starting from the top of the rainbow and all natural notes. So C would be red, D would be orange, E would be yellow, F would be whatever. What comes after yellow? Green? Green, blue, you know. Blue. So he just went through the scale and went through the rainbow and associated pitch with the color spectrum that's represented in the rainbow.
I guess that was a scale that was prevalent in his era. In his day. I'm thinking of it, maybe only those 7 notes were available during 3,000 years ago, possibly. But at any rate, in modern music, we use 12 tones.
I mean, I know consonance was honored back in that music, you know, like you wanted consonants. You didn't want a lot of dissonance. Dissonance was only to lead to more consonants. So if you're dealing with just a major scale, this I'm just totally shooting from the hip. I have no idea what I'm talking about, but it's an idea.
But you are, because then there are modes that come from the scale. You have the 7 modes.
Right.
And it's still the key of C.
Yes. So I'm actually going to try to look this up if I can figure out how to spell Pythagoras.
P-Y-T-H.
Oh, I was way off. There's a Y?
Pythag. P-Y-T-H-A-G-O-R-A-S. I'm guessing. If I look at a document, I might be able to come up with something. Let me see. I believe that's it. I mentioned it. I talked about it enough. I should know. I mean, I had to go back. When I first started this, I had my own colors. I hadn't even thought about Pythagoras. I said, I'm going to come up with 12 colors.
Oh, really?
And ironically, when I checked out what he did, I said, oh, gee, we got the same colors. And I said, wait a minute, let me just, instead of writing the book all over completely, let me just piggyback on what he did and go from there.
Oh, man, I just found a
10
really
years
cool
into
website.
It when I got into it.
I just found a really cool website. I'll text this to you. This is like the whole breakdown of his thing. I'm sure you've read it.
No, maybe I haven't. You'd be surprised what I haven't read. I've always gone on my own, and then I'll dovetail later.
Yeah, this is okay. This is pretty deep. I'll include this in the show notes so everybody listening to the podcast can check this out too. This is
great.
I mean, I'm just skimming it right now, so I hope it's as good as I think it is. But it looks pretty solid. And we've also talked about solar energy and you doing the work with music and color, that it's, I think, a great way to introduce music to different, people of ages, like really young children. I think that's a great way to introduce music to them. If they were to pursue it into like a collegiate level or a higher academic level, sure, then you can deal with that, the terms and things. I've been doing the classes and workshops for special needs folks. I think this is a great way to start talking to them about what they're hearing and what they're feeling, and not necessarily talking about scales and things that are more academic. but just talking about the raw humanality and connection with it. I think it's a really cool thing.
I mean, I've seen have so much the joy on people's faces. I've seen doing workshops. I did a workshop with a group of blind people, and they were so engaged just to talk about red shoes and yellow cars, and just imagining and then having them express that.
Oh wow!
And tell a story about that and create a story based upon the color red. Well, we had red shoes going down to the red house, going up to the red barn, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
it's just amazing to see how engaged they became, and they actually then when they started hearing the tones going along with the colors, it really it's very exciting for them to know that they made this story happen.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. That's cool, man.
Very cool.
We'll be back right after this.
All right, folks. All right, I'm doing a new thing. I'm offering up the middle of the show, right? The middle of the episode. I'm offering it up to you. That's right. If you have a new single out, you have a new album out, if you would simply like to get heard by the bass community, if you give a shout out to your social media handles, your Spotify page, whatever it may be, hit me up. Stop by thebasshed.com and get featured on the Bass Shed podcast. And while I'm waiting for you guys to hit me up, I'm going to take this time to remind you about the Jerry Jemmott Masterclass and book signing event this coming Saturday at the Bass Exchange Amp Shop in North Hollywood from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. You can see the footage of the previous masterclass that was held at Lemur Music on September 27th. Stop by thebassshedacademy.org, and I have it all there under masterclasses. Check it out.
Excellent, sir.
So you got the book. You got the book out. You're working on solar energy. What else? What else you got going on, man? You're a busy guy.
Well, I gotta do a crowdfunding to get the software created to make this really a reality, as opposed to presently you can actually play the game with your device. Go to the solarenergy.org website and play the game.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because we didn't actually bring in that part of it. There's an interactive quality to it.
Yes,
yeah.
You can actually play the game and play any song, and have the website open and hit the wheel with the pointer, and it'll emit the sound of the color, and you can match that with the sound of the music that you're hearing. So I mean, you might not get all the notes. Each song has many notes. Sometimes they're out of the key, sometimes they're in the key, but you're going to pick out what sounds good to your ear with what's going on musically, and say, oh, this color green sounds good with this song I'm playing. Whatever the song is, signed, sealed, and delivered.
Yeah.
This green sounds good. I know that's in the key of F. That's around the way I knew green would sound good. Yeah. I picked a key. A song was key I knew.
Yeah.
But you can take any song. I mean, we
but
can
now
actually Google.
What about like minor tonalities? Like, for instance, perfect example. You played the bass line. Thrill is gone. B minor. So that's a tritone away. The root is a tritone away from F, signed, sealed, delivered. And then we have a minor tonality. Yeah. So how does the minor tonality shape the color?
Well, in this case, it's going to be a D. It's going to be still.
So you're all basing it off of the
away in that color.
Yeah, the relative major tonalities are the colors.
Yeah, you have the purple. No, you have the minor will be the relative major would be gold.
Okay.
But the minor making that would be orange.
Okay.
So you're talking about B orange, a turquoise, indigo being a B minor 7 chord.
Okay.
You look at it that way, as opposed to B major would be violet, gold. That would be the third, and then you have the fifth being turquoise, and the seventh being indigo.
Okay, so you're really stacking the colors as you would stack a chord then. Not like one chord doesn't have one color.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, because I mean,
you give all the color that's in that chord, you can do.
Right. I mean, that makes sense because if you
create
have more complex
major or
harmony,
minor.
yeah. If you have more complex harmony in
You
this
got 'em.
system,
There's only 12.
right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
You got 12 colors. You got 12 tones to play with.
Right. Right. You just kind of stack them like you would stack the chord.
Exactly.
All
You
right.
put them side by side. You can separate them. They can put them in different order, like inversions.
Yeah. Yeah.
For instance, you don't have to stack them in thirds. You can stack them as an inversion. You can do the same thing we do musically. You can have it in one register. You can have the bass playing one register, which we do. The guitars playing in the middle register. The horns playing in another register. You have 3, 4 registers to work with, basically.
Right. And then the registers have to do with
Excuse me.
kind of the lightness or the darkness. The shade is, I guess, the better word. The
Yeah,
shade
so it'll
of
be
the
lighter,
color.
lighter register.
Lighter register is
Yeah,
higher.
it'll
Darker
be lighter.
register is lower register is darker.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd
So you
be
can actually see the fact that what's going on.
right. I think it'd be a cool experiment, man, to get like 4 pieces of like 12 by 12 canvas and paint a chord progression.
Mm-hmm.
So if you did like whatever,
Mhm.
2 5 1 6,
Okay.
and you
Okay.
stack the colors and you just however you want to paint it on the thing. But like these are the colors of the D minor 7. Maybe you put a 9 in there,
Mm-hmm.
And you have those colors like represented, and then so you have these 4 canvas paintings that are an actual chord progression. That'd be interesting to see.
Certainly. And what shape would the colors be?
Right. I feel like that would be time signature because I think of time signatures as shapes. You know, like
okay.
3 is round, like 5 is a little bit more elliptical, 7 is kind of oval. Like that's how I
So
think.
you can colorize the traditional conventional system.
Yeah.
That's one way of looking at it. As far as making it into, I like the idea of making it to an art as opposed to making it manuscript because that's a whole different thing.
Right.
But the idea of being inspired by just one chord with those colors, that would be D minor would be orange, green, indigo, red. D minor 7 chord right there.
Orange, green,
Those 4 colors.
That's kind of a like I wrote down
And
those
that's
and I
all
stacked
rainbow
those.
colors.
I'm reading those colors right now as you would stack a chord. So like orange, green, indigo, red. That's kind of like an autumn kind of color. Like we're having this conversation in October. It's kind of an October
Which is
color.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the D minor 7 October month. There you go. Everybody listen to
Yes.
So What and Impressions all month long.
Right,
Yeah.
there you go.
Just get all your October out
That's
of the
what
way.
I'm talking about.
Yeah. Get all the October out of the way
That's
at
what I'm
once.
talking about. And there's a website that you can actually go on and put a song in. It'll tell you what key it's in. You can Google it. What key is Autumn in New York in?
Mm-hmm.
If you just put those words, Autumn in New York, what key is Autumn in New York in? I'll do it right now.
And it tells
It'll
you
tell
the original manuscript key, or if you put in like, Sarah Vaughan singing it. I don't know if she did, but I'm sure she did.
No, it'll give you the original. Usually gives you the original key.
The copywritten key.
Okay, that's a good.
Yeah.
Exactly, the copywritten key.
Right.
But you can put in now if you put in Google search, if you put in Shazam would give you recordings of it.
Yeah, they just give you like links to the MP3.
Yeah, the original recording, but whichever one that usually it's the original recording.
Yeah.
And they use that for commercials also. But yeah, you can put in like Autumn in New York, and it'll tell you. Let me see this. Take a second here and do it myself since I'm saying it. What key is Autumn in New York? Key is Autumn in New York.
Man, that's a great song.
I love that song.
Yeah, that's a solid reference. Solid reference. I love that tune. I gotta send
Autumn, New York.
I gotta send you this version of it. There's a singer in New York named Julia Dullison And she did this record called Observatory. And a good friend of mine, Adam, in Phoenix, hit me to this record. And it's these super modern arrangements of standards. And she's got a really modern trio playing with her. Her version of Autumn in New York is slamming. Like, I'll send that to you. Great version.
Please do. That's one of the songs I grew up playing. Now, let me see what the original key it says. Autumn, New York, standard sheet, F major.
F major, okay.
That's green.
That's green.
Okay, so yes, the starting point.
Yeah.
That's the sheet music. Standard Autumn in New York, sheet music.
What's an A? What color is
Indigo.
an A? Indigo. So green.
And what color is the key of A?
No. I'm just the pitch.
It would be indigo. Oh, A is indigo.
Okay, so we have and C is red. And E is yellow?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Okay, so an F major 7 chord would be green, indigo, red, yellow.
Yes.
Okay. The red and the yellow are kind of autumny. The indigo gives it like a mood. Green kind of grounds it. I don't know if that's an earth color, but it seems like it should be.
It's associated with the earth.
Yeah. I always feel like greens and browns.
One of the rainbow colors. I mean, it's Now, brown is not a rainbow color, but the brown is something that we live with.
Yeah, but that's like an earth tone.
Brown.
Like, I feel like that's an earth tone. Yeah.
It is.
I don't know. I don't know if we're talking about music or interior design anymore.
Well, that's how it happens. You can go into create your interior design based upon the song. What song did you reference? In D minor.
Oh no, I was just talking about D minor. I was talking about So What or Impressions because they just both sit on D minor forever.
Exactly. This month you can do a room. Your hangout room could be Impressions.
Right.
Your other room could be So What. Or Autumn in New York.
Right.
You can basically dress or design, environmental presence, feeling, mood.
Yeah, I'm kind of into that.
It's all there.
I'm into that.
It's all there. And we have the software to do this, to come up to give you things that are related to it, just like that, a drop of a hat. It's a wonderful tune that, it's entertainment. It's called edutainment. You can look at it that way. It's because you're learning something and you're enjoying something at the same time.
Sure.
In the learning process.
Sure. Yeah, that's how
there's so much involved in the cross-referencing. And it makes, people are happy when their brains are active. People resting around watching, instead of watching and cutting and pasting and what they call that term, cut and paste, sampling.
Yeah.
They can create a sample. You can create.
Yeah.
Put the mind together and create something.
Right.
You might be inspired by a sample, but then go ahead, and create something. Oh, that sample is yellow. We'll create something in yellow. Let that and go from there. What else is associated with yellow? Well, in yellow you have a key. You're going to have yellow. You're going to have turquoise. You're going to have silver. You're going to have indigo. You're going to have purple. You're going to have brown. You're going to have gold and yellow.
Yeah.
That's the gold. That's the yellow major scale. So it's just more than just yellow. Yellow has friends. Every key has friends.
Good job, Yellow. Good job, Yellow. Way to be social.
So every key has friends that are outside of their key.
Sure.
So you want to incorporate their friends. That makes for a rich, tapestry. Just like people.
Yeah, it's a good hang.
We got friends that enrich our lives.
Right. You brought up sampling. I know when I spoke with Fred Thomas, like so many of his, who I know from New York, so many of his bass lines were sampled. And that's actually something, he's been struggling with, is making sure that he gets rights and blah, blah, blah. Have you ever heard of any of your bass lines being sampled, or were you told that any of your bass lines have been sampled?
Not really.
No?
Not really. I hear people sampling my style.
Well, sure.
No, I really haven't. I haven't had that fortune to be sampled or misfortune.
I
don't know. It's, people, or misfortune.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
do not get paid.
Yeah, exactly. That was Fred's deal, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, James Brown, sure. My records were like, it's funny. A lot of my records were about revolution and freedom, and those kind of records usually don't get much credence. They try to put them in the back burner.
Right,
Anyway,
they don't get the same. I think the records you were a part of were, it was such a direct laser beam focus on the thing. I would actually I want to hear what you think about this too. I think James Brown's music was about the same, but his was like,
oh yeah,
cool. My freedom is let's just dance, let's hang out, let's party. That was his freedom. He didn't talk about the problems and then talk about the struggle. He's like, no, I don't want to talk about the problems. Let's just forget about it and have fun, and like let's have this freedom that we can't have in our other life outside of this music right now. I mean, I think it was two very different approaches. Like your work with Nina Simone, she's got a very straightforward, blunt, in-your-face approach to it, and James was. He's like, no, man, we all know what's happening, but let's just all get together and dance and have a good time.
Yes, he came, but he did come on board with When I'm Black and Proud.
Yep, yes, he did.
He did, eventually everybody,
I mean, he did Black Caesar. He did all the music for that movie Black Caesar that I think, if I remember correctly, was the only record he won a Grammy for, I think. Or maybe the only one that went platinum. I don't think he ever won a Grammy.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
I forgot. I don't think it's the Payback.
I Feel Good didn't win a Grammy, huh?
I know, right? Right?
It's amazing.
There's so many. Anyways,
yeah.
But yeah, I think it was just another approach to freedom. And at the masterclass, you spoke about working with Nina, and you talked about working with Aretha. And what were some of those sessions like? Because I think so many of the listeners are obviously curious to go through the time portal, and hear about what some of those sessions were like.
Well, they were all like top class union sessions. Contracted, and everything was like, all the I's were dotted and T's across.
Yeah, like a union gig, right?
With the union gigs, and they were all well organized, well arranged, well produced. So it's very there wasn't like a hunt and it wasn't like a search and find mission.
Right.
Like you go in some sessions, you can go in some master sessions like that where sure, we did that with B.B. King. We didn't know what we were going to do.
Right.
We just went in there and fooled around and came up with something, basically. But that's what
it just happened to be like his biggest hit. That
that was the purpose.
Yeah.
To do something, to make something happen with the music. So nothing was scripted.
Mm-hmm.
No charts.
Now, this is actually a funny conversation. Not funny, haha, but I found it fascinating. We were hanging out, and you played me the original recording of A Thrill Is Gone. I didn't know that there was... I thought BB was the original recording.
Yeah,
and
a lot of people did.
What was the gentleman's name? Harry something?
Roy Hawkins.
Not even close to Harry. Roy Hawkins.
You got the age.
Yeah.
1951. It was number 6 on Billboard for 6 weeks. Was that the Rascals? It got to number 6 on Billboard.
BB King's version.
No,
Roy Hawkins.
Roy Hawkins.
Okay, yeah.
In 1951.
51.
Now
Nice.
This is in Hollywood.
Okay.
BB's in Memphis.
Yeah.
But he was a DJ.
It meant BB King was a DJ in Memphis.
Yeah.
And
so Mississippi, wherever he was DJing, he was DJing.
And he was playing this Roy Hawkins version all the time on the radio.
He discovered it then.
Yeah.
He discovered it when it came out. It was a big hit.
Yeah.
Number 6 on Billboard.
Right.
1951. So he knew about it, and a lot of people knew about it, and he wanted to do something with it. Mm-hmm. And it took him, he told me this like 20 years after we recorded it in 1969. We're talking I went to see him at a gig where somewhere he was performing, blah, blah, blah. I would do that, in later years. And he then told me this story about how he had been listening to this song for a number of years, and because the success we had in the summer of '69, he figured he'd bring it into the studio in the fall, and see what we can do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. That was it.
So you had
like
already
and everything else.
You were already hip to the Roy Hawkins version, right? Like when he
told. No, I never heard of that. No.
Okay.
Only he knew that.
Okay.
I didn't even know he wanted to change his music.
Yeah.
Until later on, I'm reading where he really wanted to change his music.
Mm-hmm.
And he called the right people. He called the right producer, the right contractor, called the right musicians, and we changed his music.
So he came up to New York to cut this session, or you went down to Memphis, or wherever?
He came to New York.
Okay.
And he came to the Hit Factory.
Okay.
The notorious, legendary Hit Factory.
Was that Wexler's studio?
Pardon me?
Was that where Wexler was producing?
No, his buddy Jerry Ragavoy owned the Hit Factory.
Okay.
He had produced Big Maybelle there. We recorded John Lee Hooker there.
Mm.
I recorded Lorraine Ellison, Aretha Franklin, Howard Tate. A number of bunch of black artists would go in and out of that. It was like legendary.
Yeah.
That was one of the few black-owned studios, and that wasn't black-owned. It was just a very soulful place that was had a good vibe, good people.
Yeah.
And they were tight. Jerry Ragavoy and Jerry Wexler were tight. They were buddies.
Okay.
So there was a strong connection there. So that's where I did most of my starting work in the 66. That was my first big. One of the major studios I ever recorded in was the Hit Factory.
What was your first?
I've been going there for a while.
What was your first session there?
I have no idea. I have no. I was in awe, just being there, and just I know it was dark. I don't remember the order.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of but that was the place to go. That was one of the major exciting places to be, because the musicians would be like, you have Billy Butler, Wally Richardson, Eric Gale, Carl Lynch, Herb Lavelle, Jimmy Johnson, Bernard Purdy, Richard T, Paul Griffin. I mean, it's a star list of black musicians.
Yeah,
that rhythm section cats. Hitting hard. They've been there forever.
Yeah.
In the horns, you have Hucklebuck Williams, Hucklebuck Henry, and Thad Jones. You have, of course, those are the best musicians in town would be playing there.
Yeah. What?
Snooky Young, Clark Terry, Babe Clark.
Yeah.
Garnett Brown. I'm just remembering musicians, the horn sections and the string plays. Al Brown, Solwick Clark, Harry Lukovsky. The best.
Yeah.
They would come there to record.
What were some of the sessions where you show up to do it, and in your mind you're like, I'm really doing this session with Aretha, or I'm really doing this with Nina Simone, or where you had to kind of it was a surreal moment for you?
They were all surreal,
yeah.
Man. That's about everyone, it's like, I grew up listening to Nina Simone.
Sure.
As I got older, I discovered Aretha Franklin. So I was on her train when she was recording for Columbia as a jazz artist. So they were all surreal. Even B.B. King was the most calmest session, because I was more relaxed with him.
Okay.
I was uptight with, Nina had to, Aretha, I was a certain anxiety. But I was very relaxed with B.B. because once he opened his mouth and started singing, I realized he sounded just like Ray Shinnery, who was a Jamaican cat who I would play with and funk up his music.
Okay.
And the drummer would be Leo Morris, Idris Muhammad, and her Honey Boy, Charles Otis. And these are New Orleans drummers.
Yeah.
So they were always funky. So we would always funk up Ray's Jamaican version of B.B. King's music.
Okay.
And we had fun, and he liked it. So as soon as BB started singing, I said, "Oh, he sounds just like Ray."
Yeah.
And so my approach immediately was like, do the same thing I did with Ray.
Okay.
So it was a very relaxed situation. And the drummer was Herb. He was very intuitive, very one of my favorite drummers to play with. He's very expressive. He would just play drums naturally and make up a part, basically based upon sounds and not be restricted by a particular beat or rhythm. He'd make up his own rhythms on the spot. Or hear something and just learn how to play it. And that's like I would do. I make up something, hear something, figure out how to play it consistently and record it. And then forget about it.
Yeah, right.
It's gone. It comes in and goes out.
One thing you and I did not talk about, but should have when we did the masterclass a couple weeks ago, is I want you to talk about the bass you brought to that masterclass. And then let's talk about why you chose that bass, because you and I have talked about it since. And I wish that I would have acknowledged it at the masterclass, and I didn't. But I wish we would have had that conversation there in front of the folks that attended.
That bass was given to me by my neighbor, who's I named it after his last child that was born. He'd been trying to play the bass, but he kept on having children. And he finally had to give it up. And the last bass...
Give up the kids or give up the bass?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm keeping the bass.
Well, he kept the bass, but he would never practice. He'd come over, I'd give him a lesson. And the last child he had passed away. It was a preemie.
Oh no!
And they named it Justice.
Okay.
And I remember going to the wake for the child and seeing the stillborn child, and so I named the bass Justice. And and I had the bass worked on. It just seemed to be appropriate to do that.
Yeah.
And they have it to keep it living, keep the kid just name the thought, just keep it perpetual motion, basically.
Yeah.
So that's why I put that bass, and it's I enjoy it. It's light. It's easy to play. I had it worked on, so it's in great shape. So I kind of like honoring his spirit and his just what he represents in my life.
I love that, and I love that story, and I love that connection. I think we were all a little curious because the name on the headstock said Squire. And so we were all a little curious why the legendary Jerry Jemmott is playing a Squire. Now, the backstory behind that is wonderful. Full support of all that. But, bass players, that's what you do, right? You walk in, you see a dude with a bass. First thing you do, if you know him, you say what's up. If you don't, maybe you introduce yourself. Second or third thing, you look right at the headstock. What's he playing? What's he playing? What's this guy working with? It's what we all do. What's this guy got? What's he got?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now I know the name there. What mods did he do? Oh, you switched it out with those. We're all idiots. That's what we do.
It's cool.
So I think we all did that. We all checked out the headstock and we wanted to know what you were playing. And I got a couple messages after. I posted some videos of that masterclass, and. And everybody kind of had the same response, which was, Squire, huh? Interesting, but there's something to that.
Yes,
they all said, like, you don't need the super boutique bass or some bass that's completely modded out with all kinds of capacitors and stuff. The sound is in the hands, and you do what you do with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And my main Fender with an ESP neck. That's my legendary bass that I play. I've made 19. That's the bass that's in the picture because that's my previous bass in 1968 was stolen.
Right.
Shortly after I recorded Think, I was working at A&R. I think I recorded the Rascals already. People Got to Be Free. That would be May. And somewhere after that, I was working at A&R. And I had 2 sessions and went to lunch with the engineer, left the studio, left the bass in the control room. We went to lunch, came back, the bass was gone.
Inside job. You think it was personal?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Some kids were in there rehearsing. I noticed as we were walking out.
Okay.
The cellist from the previous session had his kid playing with his kids. His friends were in there
Yeah.
as we were leaving. So I thought it was cool, but apparently it wasn't.
Apparently it was not.
And I was never able to, you weren't there to see it happen, so you don't know what happened.
It's true.
But they rented me a bass. It's funny you say that. They rented me a bass from Carol Music for the next session. They couldn't get a jazz bass. They got a precision bass.
Yeah.
But the engineer was the one who said, "Jam, Jerry, you got the same sound." Because he had just engineered the previous session that was on.
Yeah.
And he really loved that bass because the signal was so hot. It wasn't as hot as my bass that was stolen, but I still got a good sound out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the one who made note of that and let me know that it really wasn't about the bass, it was about what I put into the bass.
Right.
That one instance, and having that same engineer from the 10 o'clock session engineer the 2 o'clock session tell me I got the same sound.
Yeah.
That was like validation, confirmation.
Yeah,
that,
especially on two very different sounding basses.
Yeah.
And a J to a P. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was the same engineer in the same studio.
I remember when we hung the first time, I asked you how the Jocko video came out because I was young when the first time I saw that, and I hadn't started like checking out old music. I think I just recently discovered Jocko not too long before picking up that tape.
Mm-hmm.
So how did the tape come? I kind of like this story. I remember you telling it to me. How did you and Jocko connect? And where was the tape shot? And what was that experience like?
Well, we connected. How we connected? It was through a mutual friend who I just met in Amsterdam. Who was actually he was from Suriname.
Mm-hmm.
It's a country in South America. That was basically settled by Africans, and the Amazon Indians allowed them. They were escaped in slavery, allowed them to gave them freedom in the jungles of the Amazon, where they actually able to establish their own country, which actually was a Dutch. The Dutch had it. The country's called Suriname, but they were able to have their own village, basically in the jungle, and that's where his Pablo came from. At any rate, and another musician, the piano player, who his friend, and the drummer. Come to think of it, there were three of them. Anyway, we went. I was in Amsterdam with Mr. Haven, and I met them somehow at a club. Basically, I was hanging out, and he told me that Jocko, he was a friend of Jocko, and Jocko wanted to meet me. Mm-hmm. Know my number. I said, sure, give him my number. So I gave him my number. This is like in 1982.
Okay.
81.
Okay. Now, what did you think? Obviously, you've heard of Jocko at this point. You've probably heard him play. I would, especially being in New York. Like, what was the first time you heard Jocko, and what was your impression about hearing him?
Oh man, I said, somebody did the work.
Yeah.
Somebody put the work in.
Right. Yeah.
He was playing stuff I had heard, stuff like I had imagined going. I played harmonics. I messed around with harmonics.
Mm-hmm.
I messed around playing, heads of songs. But he put the time and work in. That's my first reaction.
Okay.
I mean, he went beyond the work.
Yeah.
I recognized it immediately, and the record was sent to me by Jimmy Tyrell.
Okay.
Who was vice president of Columbia Records, and Jimmy was a bass player who he was the reigning king of the studio. When I came into the studio in 1964, 65,
yeah,
he was the man.
Okay.
Him, Chuck, Bob Babbitt, not Bob Babbitt, what's his name? Bob, I can't remember Bob's last name. But anyway, he was the cat. And eventually, us younger cats, me and Chuck, we were younger than him. I'm a lot younger than Chuck. He kind of phased out, and he moved up to executive position at Columbia Records.
Okay.
He worked his way up, and so he sends me this record in 1975, I guess it was.
Yeah, I think it came out in 74. So five makes sense. Yeah.
When it came out, I got it in 5. I remember getting it in 5.
Or maybe it came out in 76. Hold on, let me. Now I'm getting my Jocko numbers dyslexic.
Right.
Man.
Well, I know in 76, I was the 750th anniversary. The Independence 750th anniversary of no, it couldn't be seven. It must be 250th
Right.
or 200th anniversary of this country, basically Independence Day, 1976.
Right.
Remember that being the June. I remember being February of that year, being being homeless and finding a house in that June. There was a big Buddha celebration going on that particular time.
Okay.
So I remember that year. But it was in February where I was living in Jimmy Smith's apartment. That's when I received. That's where I got the record.
Okay.
I was living on 95th Street, and Jimmy. I somehow he found out where I was, and I got it. Came in the mail there.
Okay.
I always stayed in touch with the union, so I kept updating my address and telephone number with the union. So
right, that's how they could get in touch with you. Yeah.
I could be found. I could always be found. So,
his record came out in 76. I looked it up. It's 76, not 74.
It was 76? Yeah. Okay. So that's where I was. That's when he sent it to me pre-release.
Okay.
I don't know. I remember getting it around February of that year. It was, he was before it actually was released, I guess.
Yeah.
And I was blown away.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 1979, I'm meeting Arlen Roth. He's telling me that Jocko did a interview for Guitar World magazine, and he credits me as being his inspiration. He quoted saying, "I'm just a poor imitation of Gerald Jemmott."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Wow, okay." I said, "I can hear it. I heard it."
Just to qualify, you can hear the influence, not that Jocko's a poor imitation. You can hear the influence.
I heard it. I heard it immediately. I said, "Yeah, I'm glad he's acknowledged it.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool. And then that one, I just went from there. There was no, I didn't think about it until I met Pablo in '81. He said, Jocko wants to meet me, and blah, blah. And I gave him a number. He came to New York in '82, '83. And he came back in '84, and we recorded the video in '85 on 9th Avenue. That's the chronology of how we met and what took place.
And what was the bass? What was the bass you were playing in that video? Because I asked you about that bass. I remember. I
had a couple of basses because he had I had a Fender bass.
I mean, I know what he was playing. He had like a jazz bass with a P-neck or something. But what was the bass you had with that scroll headstock?
I had my Rivera bass.
Rivera.
That was the fretless that he played.
Mm-hmm.
That was the Abe Rivera bass.
Okay. Beautiful
bass. That's the bass he played.
Yeah. That one of yours got stolen, right?
That got stolen. I was, product of my environment at the time, my life I was living. Things happened and it got stolen.
Okay.
And I got it back. I got stolen. I think it was 89. I got it back in 95.
Where is it now?
Now it's in Maryland.
Okay.
It's in Maryland.
Then
Mumima has it.
Somebody you know has it?
Oh yeah, I sold it. After I got it back, I wasn't gonna. It was in bad shape. It was really. I had to put frets back in it to stabilize the neck.
Okay.
They found it in a guitar in a store in Dallas, Texas.
Oh, interesting.
That's where it was discovered. In I called the PD here in New York, yeah. And they went and contacted Dallas police, and they went and got it, and they delivered it to me when I was living in Long Island.
I'm surprised that they put that much effort into a stolen bass.
Nam Yoho Renge Kyo.
Okay, yeah. Got you.
I tell you, I knew it would be found one day because it was too unique not to be found.
That's true.
One of my students, Roger Moore. Roger Moore? Is that his name? No, it's not. No, it's Richard Moore. Anyway, he saw an advertising bass player magazine. One more Jocko bass found. That was the heading.
Okay.
He said, Jerry, they found your bass. Because he was studying with me when it was stolen during that period. And so he knew it was stolen, blah, blah. He knew the story. So I pursued it and went to the police department, and they went and did their work. And ironically, when I had to file the papers, as they told me, I had originally filed the police report was filed in the wrong precinct, so I couldn't find my original report that was stolen. But they were able to manufacture one, and the sergeant that came down who took my paperwork, his badge number was my birthday.
Oh man,
1946. I said, hey, this is looking really good.
Yeah.
So all you guys do is give me a bill of sale, and we'll take care of it.
Yeah.
That's all he wanted was a bill of sale. I called Abe. I just moved out to Long Island. Abe Rivera.
Mm-hmm.
He paid me a bill of sale for the parts what he spent for parts to make the bass. I presented that. I took it back to the police station. That was it.
Okay.
They went and got it.
Yeah. Killing.
Yeah, it was cool. It took about 3 months after they did that, but they still got it.
Cool, man. So you got the book out. You got Solar Energy, which is a nonprofit organization associating colors and pitches, and it's a learning thing. The interactive portion. When should we look out for the interactive portion? That's in development right now, correct?
I think it's been in development for a while.
Yeah.
I'm doing a crowdfunding thing, probably starting next week or early November, to push it to get the necessary funds to get it done.
Sure.
And right now, when I started in 1999, it was not affordable.
Right.
I knew it was going to be a challenge, and I was told what kind of brain work it would take, what kind of size computers would take to do it, and it just wasn't feasible back then.
Right.
But now it's done. It's on, like I can say, you can go to my website right now and play the game in its very level 1 form. The software will do everything that your brain does, basically, and do it for you, basically.
Sure.
It will create colors. It will create music in us with a certain mood and a certain tempo for a certain purpose, based upon your commands, basically.
Nice.
That's something you can do any musician can do on its own at present. But for someone who's not a musician, it's very entertaining. And for a musician, it's very entertaining also just to see the possibilities outside of your normal way of thinking.
Right.
Just based upon the challenge of doing something in pink and doing something in green and red and making that work.
Yeah.
The criteria. And when you're going to bring these colors in and how you're going to bring them in. Is it going to be a chord? Is it going to be a scale? Is it going to be a lick?
Yeah.
It could be anything. So it's very interesting. So that's I'm looking excited about getting that done to making it available to the world.
Cool.
I'm hoping I'll get investors who are like-minded who will see the value in this and will invest in it to get the software done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm with you, Jerry. Thanks so much, man. Thanks for doing the podcast.
Thank you. Appreciate you have time, Brian, and your audience. Have a great day.
All right. That was my talk with Mr. Jerry Jemmott. Again, the masterclass is coming up this Saturday, December 16th at the Bass Exchange Amp Shop in North Hollywood, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. You can get tickets at thebassshedacademy.org. Jerry and I are also, I'm not part of this. This is Jerry's thing. Jerry is putting together a list of his favorite bass lines that he's played over the years, across the board with all the different artists he's played with. These are Jerry Jemmott selected bass lines, and we are creating a transcription book that will be available at thebassshedacademy.org. You can pre-order that. You can reserve your copy for that. You can email me with any questions. But that's going to be happening in the near future. I just have to have time to. Jerry sent me a list. He sent me the list, and I'm started working on the transcriptions. And so I just got to knock out the transcriptions, have him proof them, and then the book will be available if anybody is interested in learning from the legend, Mr. Jerry Jemmott. Stop by thebassshedacademy.org for more information about that book of Jerry Jemmott transcriptions. All right, folks, that's all I got for this one. If you enjoy the Bass Shed podcast, please hit subscribe wherever you are listening to it, and I will catch you on the next one in a minute.